And we are live. Welcome back to the most recent installment of the Mecca of Banter podcast. It is your host this week, your boy Hoove, Young Yid on Twitter. Absolutely cruising over here, just crushing non-league opposition left and right. Never know what you're going to get with the old boys from in the Lily White. But good week for me. Can't complain. Happy to be here. Happy to be hosting. Feel like it's been a while. Yeah, let's run around to the lads. Nikki, what's going on, brother, down there in the John Terry kit?
I'm glad you mentioned it, is what I wanted to start off with. I have a insanely nice kit on today, thanks to my man Hoove over there for the spot on that. This thing is sick. I absolutely love it. On the win column again for the Chelsea boys. So I'm a happy guy for this episode. Also some great footy this weekend. So I'm happy to be here. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Hayfeet4. It's not really that active, but if you want it to be, hit me up.
Yeah. Hey man, look, we say this all the time. You can only play the team in front of you. Doesn't matter who they are. It's all you can do.
Never heard, but hey, it's a win.
Winks, my brother, what's going on, man?
What's up, baby? Good to be here. Good to see you guys. North London Derby on Wednesday at home, nonetheless. So I'm excited for a good week. Yeah.
Got it.
No point in thinking about the past.
Yeah.
Only play in front of you. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It was a high integrity play of you for showing up on the pod today.
Yeah.
Very high integrity play.
I'm like Senor Butchart.
Yeah. Literally taking notes.
Good to see you guys, though.
Happy to have you, brother. Happy to have you. And then we'll slide into what will be the most biased portion of the podcast today. The United Corner. Hen, what's up, brother?
Why you say bias, bro?
I don't know. Maybe you might have said it yourself. That's okay.
Why you say bias, bro? What's up, y'all? It's your boy Hen here. So stoked to be here. It is a great week to be a Manchester United fan. I will say, Hoove, you were like one goal away from having a very different tune in this podcast today. So it's nice to see you smiling. Nikki, as always, you can only play the team in front of you, and Winks, good to see you, man. For those of you wondering, I texted Lucas earlier today, for school, I have an assignment where I need to use a partner or whatever. And I texted him, I was like, hey, are you down to help me throughout this semester? And he's like, I don't know. I'll see how you treat me tonight on the podcast before I answer. I was like, Jesus, man.
Great answer.
But fellas, I'm so glad to be here to talk United, obviously, but feels so nice that we're going to talk about St. Louis City with some actual things to talk about, because we're only 2 weeks away from preseason kicking off with games. So stoked to be here.
Yeah, man. Great to have you. Winks, I can't imagine there's academic repercussions happening out here on the podcast. So everyone just keep that one in mind, as we roll forward. But Dobes, last but not least, what's up, brother?
What's going on, fellas? It's good to see you boys. Just like Hen, happy to be here. I'm looking towards the future. I am a little sad. I was just praying we play Southampton Thursday. I was just praying we were either at the Emirates or Anfield, but unfortunately we're at home to Southampton. But it's good to be here, boys. The boys bounced back this weekend with another impressive result. I want to say I'm excited to talk St. Louis City, and Winks wants to look forward. But I can't wait to talk about the game yesterday, fellas. It's all I've been thinking about all day. I have not been off Twitter. I was trying to work, scrolling Twitter, watching every single slow motion video of Joshua Zirkzee double nutmeg to Chris Stapleton that you could ever imagine all day long. So I'm happy to be here, fellas. Let's rock.
There's simply not enough Twitter to go through the last 2 days.
Bro, it's funny. Madison's been walking around this house, and she'll just hear Chris Stapleton play, and she's like, "Again?" I'm like, "Yep, again."
Joe's before this was like, I can't talk that much shit to win, so you just say it this week.
It's been an elite weekend on Twitter, that's for sure. Anytime you get big matches, it's a good time to be online. And there were some wild takes and views and sites out of this weekend. So I'm sure we'll get there. I have no doubt we will. But before we start chirping at each other, the lads, St. Louis City, the lads are back. We got a video of them walking into training for the first time today with Olaf Melberg. Is that Melborg? Melberg.
Melberg sounds nice and suburban, so
Melberg.
yeah, why not?
We'll slide that in there. Maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. Yeah, but it was great to see everyone rolling back in. We had Betcher and Klaus arm in arm walking back in from the carpool. Like the vibes are through the roof. So excited to have seen that. And Olaf also went through his first media day as head coach, and a lot of things that he said I loved. But I do feel, we're day one here. I love the guy. I already love the guy. He's got a steel crimson chin with a chiseled jawline. He wears flip-flops on the side of the pitch, brother. I'm all in on him.
I knew you too. The moment, I almost the moment I saw him in his presser, I was like, "Oh my god, who's gonna love this motherfucker?"
This guy is. We need to be farming out of Norway and wherever the hell he's from, because it's proven to come out with some solid players, and maybe hopefully a really solid coach too. He said did anyone get to listen to his media? I did a lot of reading or rereading. I didn't get to actually listen. I was in
I did reading of it.
My key takeaways, which I made pretty clear on the Mecca Twitter account, were tactical balance, tactical flexibility. The way that he talked about wanting the team to play is not different from what we would consider the St. Louis City philosophy, which is front pressing, high attack, high press, a lot of energy and, consistent running, which we all would agree that we want. The issue with Bradley was that we physically couldn't stray away from it, and everyone figured it out. So those off the bat were really exciting to me, and just hearing him say that next to the ownership group. Any other thoughts that we kind of pulled from that? I know that Diego, the sporting director, assistant guy, I'm not really sure of his title, he had some interesting things to say about squad and the squad depth and size. Anyone else kind of pick up any of that or have anything notable on it?
I think, I'm excited for what he's going to bring defensively. There's a lot to be said last year kind of at the trade deadline with bringing all the attacking talent, but we didn't have the balance defensively. But Olaf was a defender, and a very, very good one at that. And so we've talked about it before, but when you're a defender, it's kind of how you see the game. You see the game through defensive eyes. And if we can lock that up, it's going to make for a lot better of a year. I know that you just touched on it quickly, but once we get healthy, man, we're looking at a pretty solid roster across the board. There's some speculation that we're linked with a couple more people that may or may not happen. The one midfielder that we're linked with right now looks to be an absolutely insane ad.
Yeah. His name is Conrad Wallum. He slots in. He's rather versatile midfielder. Could be also considered a wingback in a 3 or 5 back situation, which everything to me is pointing towards that. We've got an overload of center backs. We've got an overload of defenders, frankly, in general. We did lose Jay Reed today to a broken foot. He will be out the next 3 months, which sucks a lot. Partially because I'm really excited about his growth and what he might be able to bring, and his grind through City 2 to come up, and then all of us watch one game and be like, wait a second, we've had this kid the whole time.
I also always hate injuries and surgeries to athletic players, because that I'm not saying he would or would ever.
Totally.
Obviously, he's just such an athlete for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's an up and back, forward and through type player, and that seems to fit really well in what could be a 5-back situation. But you're 100% right, Nikki. I'm genuinely concerned that Salio is not going to be the same player. And I think if anyone maybe has an excuse to not be the same player, it's him. Who's obliterated everything in his leg and ankle. So that's a concern. But seriously, seeing him run on the pitch with the boys in a couple of clips I saw on Twitter today was just so good.
Such a thing. He's be over that injury and thinking that he can play full go, and if he's not, it could impact his game a lot.
Well, what's nice is we'll have the depth to where he's not going to have to be forced out there for 90 minutes right away. So it's he can really come back and make an impact coming off the bench or building his stamina. But you think about some guys that came back from really big injuries, when Nilsson came back from tearing his knee.
Yeah.
He went right into the lineup because we quite frankly didn't have anyone else. And so that's just a tough ask of a player that, his recovery should be better. And it'll be nice.
I do hope we ease Nilsson through this year. And it's nice having additional center backs, I think, as available coverage. Because it was so obvious to see how good he was. But then, the issue and point of contention was like when he was with Tim Parker, we were losing a ton of games and giving up a ton of goals. And we all can see that he's good. There was something off about that. And that, that's all last year for the most part. We're not worried about any of that. Do want to give a quick shout out to Indy Vasilev. Congrats on the Camp Cupcake call up. Sorry, you say that 3 times fast. I just pulled it off one time. Camp Cupcake call up. That's cool, I guess. Happy for him on that front.
AZL Jackson did the same thing. We saw how that went.
Oh God, AZL Jackson. AZL Jackson.
I'm not scared to say it didn't really make sense to me, but sure, happy for him.
Yeah, it makes 0 sense.
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe he has just not to dock anything away from him, but maybe he just has great relationships inside of the USA camp, like from IMG Academy, and I know that he played. I listened to his City Voice a couple of months ago, and he played in the USA academy system, all in the U18s, U19s, U20s, and maybe he just still has good relationships. And when you have a Camp Cupcake like that, and you don't have any of the dogs there, it's I don't know, just get him in front of the new coach. I don't know, but
and
whatever.
At some point, Camp Cupcake it's not for are you going to make the World Cup squad? It's for is there maybe a potential that you catch some good form with your club in the next couple of months and make and be a fringe player on the actual roster. So I don't necessarily see that happening unless he just comes out and has an insane season. But I found this interesting. He was listed as a forward. We've seen him all over the pitch in 10 roles, in wing roles, so I thought that them calling him a forward was interesting. And I'm eager to watch these games coming up for the United States men's team, partially because Mauricio Pochettino is our manager, and that's not something that I ever thought would be real ever. So that's my main reasoning in watching. I'm always locked in on my man. But yeah, it'll be super cool. I hope he gets some time. It'll be fun to see him, compete in, I guess, a higher level of quality and to a certain degree. And I don't know. We're happy for him. That'll be cool. But yeah, the preseason is rolling right around the corner. When did you say it was, Hen? It was
in 2 weeks.
2
the
weeks.
First game I want to say is the 25th of January. So it's So the 25th of January against New England, and then 29th against the New York Red Bulls. And then we go into the Coachella Valley Invitational the first week of February, like we had last year. And then finally we have a closed door friendly on the 15th of February. And then I'm pretty sure the weekend after that. The Coachella Valley Invitational.
It makes me sad, man. That's where we just watched Kojima become Kojima.
Oh, I know, bro. I know.
He was so good.
Yeah.
Did y'all also see the Matt Baker, Jake Nowinski thing?
Yeah, yo.
Basically, for those of you that don't know, Matt Baker, who's one of the most prominent St. Louis City reporters out there, put out a tweet that said something to the extent of St. Louis City is not looking into renewing Jake Nowinski's contract. Is it slowed down and yada, yada, yada. They'll look to move him on. And Jake Nowinski responded to it on Twitter saying, who's your source on this? I haven't heard anything about this, which is just crazy. That's wild. It's breaking the fourth wall. You know what I'm saying?
A little bit.
All the comments are Baker in the mud, Baker in the mud.
It's so bad.
I have to assume Matt Baker had a credible source and was allowed to tweet that because totally. I think of him as a guy with the utmost integrity and is a really, really solid guy in the St. Louis City community. I also like to imagine what his reaction was when he got that Twitter notification that Jake Nowinski responded to his tweet. He was probably at dinner with his family oh shit. Oh no.
Yeah, it is interesting too because we've tweeted stuff before where our sources have been hey, you might want to take that down. So like the fact that like he tweeted it out, and it's just
it's a tricky game being an ITK Twitter account these days.
It is.
It's a tricky little thing you got to navigate.
I do want to say from the young prospects that we have that the guy that we drafted in the first round, that Emil, whatever his last name is, I'm excited to watch him. He looks a little bit more, in my opinion, my humble opinion, he looks a little bit more complete of a striker than McSorley does. And McSorley came in and like made a really good impact on the City 2 team, played a couple of times for the first team without making any of an impact, but that wasn't necessarily his fault. He made his debuts in that weird transitional space where we had like all these injuries and none of the dogs, and it was weird. But if we come in and we're like bringing in good competition for that forward spot, I mean, that's great. That's like great in my opinion, whether we use that for the first team or we use that to get a trade or some like GAM money, like whatever it is. Like, I think that's a solid look. So I'm excited to watch him. Goalies are always hard for me. We drafted a goalie. It's like hard for me to know. Obviously, we're going to have to start thinking about life after Berkey in the next couple of years, but I'm not a goalie expert. I don't really know how to evaluate them other than can they like claim crosses and own their box. Shout out Onana one time. But I don't know. I'm excited to watch that Emil kid.
Yeah, and I'm, really hoping we're getting some Caden Glover growth and advancement in his ability. Also, partially because I'm looking at a 69 out of 99 card that I packed here and hope he someday goes to Europe, so this card's worth a lot of money.
Did you see he made the U20 national team camp?
Yeah.
Sure did.
Pretty sick, homegrown kid. And Vasilev made the national team winter camp too, so he's
Hey Lucas. Welcome to the pod, bro. Jesus Christ.
You guys were rolling. I wasn't gonna interrupt that, but wanted to make sure those two boys got their shouts.
Two guys representing USA out of St. Louis on the team is a good look no matter what. We said it about AZ too, and I mean fairy dust, it's not real.
Real.
But yeah, looking forward to the upcoming preseason games. You can bet your ass I will be watching whatever sketchy YouTube stream that they give me.
100%.
Because we also get to watch the style and system, and we get our first looks at a mom filmed soccer match to try and stylistically understand what we're looking at.
It's crazy. Like the high school games have better film than these games do.
I don't know why. Like I have this like vivid memory of walking through Target in Brentwood watching the games last year. Like I have the most vivid memory of doing
what
that.
What a Walmart to be in.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. It's weird.
So those games kick off next week. We are geeked about them. We are geeked about the St. Louis City season. I'm not going to say anything about the $90 Yeti cups that were released today because there's a lot of different thoughts on Twitter. Again, I've been on Twitter about name it. You know that I've watched it. So rolling into a pretty big weekend for some. Nikki only had one match. A lot of Carabao Cup, a lot of FA Cup. We'll start off hot with Arsenal 0, Newcastle 2 in the Carabao Cup semifinal. This is a 2-leg final. Arsenal were at home and dropped that one. So, Winks, what did you get from that one? What are the thoughts, and what is the reverse fixture looks like?
Yeah, same shit, different day. I will say I'll give credit to Newcastle defensively. They played us very, very well, but we didn't do ourselves any favor with not really having any sort of offensive threat in their box. And we saw the same thing in our game over the weekend too. But I feel like I'm repeating myself these last couple weeks. But until we get someone who can put the ball in the back of the net consistently without having to rely on a center back to do it, this looks like our trajectory for the rest of the season, at least until Saka gets back at the end of March. So I don't know, a tough one. Isak had a good tryout, although it doesn't sound like he'll be in Arsenal red in January. So he'll get another chance at a tryout and probably another one later this year before we get him over to our team. But yeah, disappointed. Not It hasn't been a fun week.
Dude, playing Newcastle sucks.
Stop smiling.
Like what I'll give you here is that I hate Newcastle, and
Not as much as us.
credit to Eddie Howe and whatever the hell he's doing, but I despise them, and playing them sucks. Like if you're a team that possesses the ball, they will set up that mid block and they will just park it. And they've got an electric counterattack, which
They've got some athletic dogs all over the field.
Yeah.
right, dude. Joelinton's 6'4", I hate that guy. He's gonna get the Matty Cash treatment from Spurs fans from here on out. Yeah, I mean, like, Isak's disgusting, dude.
Yeah.
The more we say this almost every week now, he's like getting better in my eyes, and he like hand over fist.
I think it's partially that, and partially like we know that he's been good for a while, but I feel like now that there's rumors of him potentially leaving, we're paying a little bit more attention to him and talking about him more on this podcast, and I think that subconsciously, at least for me, that's making me pay more attention to his individual performances. But you know,
Does anybody know what his price is? Like even on transfer market, I have no clue.
I don't know what his value is off the top of my head, but I heard with transfer fees, somebody was saying somewhere around 150 million. Last I read. So if that's the case,
fuck off.
Don't want that.
Stay there.
Yeah. His market value 75 million.
Yeah,
it might have been a buyout clause or something that I read, but I saw 150 million number somewhere.
They're gonna keep going up.
Which to Todd Bowley, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's 1.5 hotels.
Kroenke ain't spending that.
No.
I genuinely think it's like, I think you get in for 95, 100 in terms of a fee, but then you're going to have to pay him $300K a week too. Like, it's Arsenal's current front office is not something that anyone really knows too much about. Like I don't think even Arsenal fans are confident in who's making decisions, where they're coming from, how much money there is to spend, et cetera, et cetera.
They're also making money being mid, so like they're okay.
It's the board. It's the board that's making the decisions until we get a new technical director. I did find out. So like Arteta has no say in it. The board is the one. You know, he can like plead his case, whatever that may be, but at the end of the day, it's the board making the decision on whether to spend money or to force him to stick with what he has for the next 5 months.
With Isak, I think it's almost like it's tougher because I think they're going to do if he wants 250, 300 a week. Like I think Newcastle will be willing to give it to him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more so he's going to have to want to make that move for his career. Like you got to think right now, if Newcastle, which they very well could qualify for the Champions League, like why leave?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like, it's just that he will have to ask for that move to go to a big six or go to a big club in Europe somewhere. If not, I think Newcastle is going to do every single thing in their power they can to keep him, including give him a fat raise if he asks for it.
Do you know who your most expensive player is, Wings? Like on your wage bill weekly, who makes the most money at Arsenal?
It might be Gabby Jesus.
Nope. It is Kai Havertz.
Yeah, that makes sense. I knew he was like top 3.
I mean, I'm
is
not
Gabby
gonna lie.
Jesus closely behind them?
Yeah, he's number 2, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm honestly like astonished at some of these like weekly salaries because obviously I can compare them to Manchester United. Manchester United is just a shit show.
It's like 350,000. So
yeah, it's really bad. But I mean, you have Kai on 280, Gabby Jesus on 265, Declan, Odegaard both on 240, Thomas Partey, or excuse me, a gentleman in his 30s that plays for a Premier League club at 200, Saka at 195, Saliba 190, Martinelli 180. I mean, these are some high wages. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of those guys are important to your team. Don't get me wrong, but like you think about Gabby Jesus or Kai Havertz or Thomas Partey, if you try to offload any of those players, like, I mean, you're asking a lot to be taken on there. I mean, Raheem Sterling's at 162.5, and I know that's like what, half of Chelsea or whatever it is, but like, it's crazy. I'm honestly a little surprised at seeing some of these figures.
Yeah, I don't
Kai
know.
Havertz
I don't
is
know off the
nuts.
top of my
That's
head.
fucking nuts.
I don't know off the top of
280,
my
bro. He got a
head.
bag.
70 mil too.
A bag.
Everyone else you mentioned, I do feel probably deserves it because they are in and out everyday starters.
Yeah,
Gabby
But-
Jesus, fuck.
Gabby Jesus is probably grandfathered in, bro. He probably has
Yeah.
just been
Yeah.
keeping that cash since he was on the original.
Now I'm just like, what are the wages in the Premier League? Who's on the highest shit? It's like we gotta
It's-
compare this stuff.
it's probably
gonna be
mostly
like
Chelsea players.
It's gonna be
brother.
Rashford.
Oh god, this is gross. De Bruyne on 400, and these are pounds. 400. Holland on 375. Salah on 350. Casemiro on 350. Rashford on 300.
Ooh.
Jack Grealish on 300. Bruno on 300.
Oh,
Bernardo
Deserved.
Silva on
Deserved.
300.
I'd give Bruno 400.
Bruno's maybe the only one that makes sense for you guys right now.
I'd give Bruno.
on
I'd give Bruno
280.
5.
Wow,
All
that's
good.
crazy.
Are there any
Crazy.
Spurs guys on that list?
Not in the top 10, no.
Shocker.
Boys either. Sterling would have been. Thanks, Arsenal.
Yeah, that's nuts. Chelsea's highest is Reece James. Yeah.
ROI
Nuts.
on that one's been great.
Math isn't math in there.
So is it March that's the second leg of this, Winks? Do you know?
I think that's so stupid to have it that spread out. Too. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
so
think so
dumb.
too.
that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, because
February 5th. February 5th is the reverse fixture away at St. James.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, well, it's good for me. I'm hoping to God that there's some more players available. So
Wait, so let me ask you this. I know that this is a little bit early in the episode to do a segment or a factor cap, but who's more overpriced? This is the question. Is it Kai Havertz at 285,000 or whatever his week, or 290,000, or is it Timo Werner on 170,000 per week?
Kai.
question.
Kai.
I
don't know. I think for someone who doesn't start,
That's nuts.
Dude, Kai
That's so funny.
had 21 goal involvements in the Prem last year. It would take Timo another 3 years to have 10. So
10 shots on goal.
Great runs, dude. He makes great
Dude,
runs.
makes great runs, and then he loves
Thomas
side netting.
Tuchel could walk on water, man.
Well, how he did it, dude, that's impressive. The guy's the number one elite tournament manager.
All the memes of like Timo and Kai holding trophies and then their reactions on their clubs.
Insane. So they'll see Newcastle down 2-0 in the reverse fixture. Tough place to play St. James. That's a tough one to turn around on. But
Very
who knows?
tough.
Maybe they do it. Maybe Newcastle's parked the bus like losers, and it may work out if there's no new striker at Arsenal. So I think that's kind of the input from everyone. Sliding across town, Tottenham.
Let's hear about it, baby.
Boys up north. This is an interesting one. I wish Butchie was here for this one. Not really even so that I could sit here and gloat, because
Tottenham were good. They deserve to win.
well, not even that. 1-0.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Tottenham or Bueno. They deserve to win.
mate.
A 1-0 win going to Anfield genuinely could mean absolutely nothing. It's nice to go up a goal, but like, let's be real with ourselves. We could get absolutely shit pumped at Anfield. So, more so than anything, I needed this for my own personal well-being. And my point before we start chatting yellow cards and what maybe shouldn't have been yellow cards and controversy, I would like to point out that Ange adjusted his tactics. And I think it's very, very important to say at this point in the year, especially with Sky Sports and the BBC just vomiting out their mouths about it. He can't get away with it.
Are they credible under JP sources? Are they?
Hey, I don't know. Telegraph Football with 600,000 followers on Twitter. I'm not sure if that's. I don't know if they're credible or not. I don't know. Word vomit about how it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. He's got to change. He did, and I feel like there wasn't enough acknowledgement of that. I watched Liverpool break the press on Tottenham with like butter, brother, like a hot knife through butter. I think they're some of the best at breaking down a press, probably in the world. I think we're still kind of talking about them being in the top 3, 4 right now in the world. They carved Spurs open when they initiated the super high press, and it's a coordinated press, yada yada yada. I think after the first 10, 15 minutes, obviously I'm sure they try and do that front foot, grab a goal early kind of thing. After that, they dropped a little bit deeper. They didn't pick up midfielders until the ball was kind of at the center circle. It was something of a low block, but the press itself was not nearly aggressive. They let Liverpool hold the ball for a while and, defended, which we've not really seen from an Ange Postecoglou side. So I don't necessarily think that he's going against everything he said. Like, he's still the same style and tactics, and he's going to continue to implement that. But acknowledging maybe who you have available and what the squad on the pitch looks like, and accepting that Liverpool put out just about a full strength side, you've got to change. You just can't completely, give it away in the first 10 minutes. And they did a really, really good job of that. Going into half 0-0, I was ecstatic. There was good defensive action all over the pitch. Not a ton going forward, but I'm not worried about that. You've got Brennan Johnson, who's super fast, and that's also about it. And Sonny, who on his day is one of the best players, one of the best wingers in the world. He hasn't been on his day this whole year, but and Solanke, again, I think Dom Solanke continues to prove off the ball his
He does
value.
the dirty work, man. Yeah,
he does the dirty work, and he's so good at it. And ultimately, resulted in a goal for us at the other end of the pitch. It was just a long ball that Pedro Porro hoped was going to get to the right spot, and Solanke just absolutely showing Konate his manhood and just pushing him right off, no problem. Slip ball to Berg ball sliding through the middle. I watched that one in slow-mo so many times this week. So
the slow-mo with music, the
slow-mo videos have been a revelation to football content because everyone's doing it now, and they're all awesome.
They're all unreal. Yeah.
They're all awesome. I watch other teams; they're so good. I love it. It's people forget that football is art and poetry in motion, and we don't stop to accept that enough. And the first one I saw was that Griezmann goal. The Griezmann, the one where he what did he do? He slid the ball behind his leg and nutmegged the defender and then shimmied the keeper. That was the first one I saw. I was like, we forget that we're watching artists. That's really who these guys are. But I will throw in my 2 cents on Nikki's got his finger up. What's up, Nikki?
The moment Trent Alexander-Arnold came onto the field, I knew you guys were going to win. The moment he stepped on...
He's going to push this agenda so hard.
Brother, I'm not kidding. The moment he stepped on, I go, oh, Spurs are going to win now. And Timo could possibly score, is what I was thinking.
I will say, Timo torched him, too. The ball didn't get to the penalty spot, but he torched him. The ball actually went straight into Timo's favorite place, the side netting. I vividly remember that. I got a text from Dan Hornsey, and he was like, I could hear your laugh from here watching Timo hit that ball into the side net. And I was like, I literally texted back.
Their back four deserved it, and then they ruined it when they brought in Trent.
Dude, I banged my fists on this desk when he hit the side net because it was such a great little move. It was so good. Just find the middle, brother. Just put it on net or find the middle. The yellow card controversy. I'm willing to talk about this, and I'm willing to concede a few thoughts. Burnball's first. What?
That's so honorable of you.
Oh, thanks. That's being the honorable, down to earth, knowledgeable football fan. But the first yellow wasn't a yellow.
No.
That's the first bit of where my retribution comes in. Not to mention, Jota spiking Skippy in the face and then turning around and scoring the equalizer last year. I'm still not over that one clearly, but the first one's not a yellow. And if Diaz gets clipped at all, we know who Diaz is. Those South American guys have a little bit of flair to him. If he gets clipped, He's going to go down. He's going to roll. He's going to hold his ankle. He didn't get clipped. He jumped over the tackle, threw himself down. I think I'm not mad at him in this situation at all, but he popped right back up. He was like, shit, yeah, he got me. Like he didn't touch him. So the slide, he jumped over it. He could have had more space to run. He said, fuck it, I'll let him take this yellow. We'll pick back up and move on. The second one was a yellow. Like, no question or doubt in my mind. The rule thing that Ange pointed out in his post-match presser was that, and I don't think I've ever seen this in my entire life. I have never seen a referee see a second yellow offense, give the advantage, let the play finish out, and then turn around and go give a second yellow to a player.
Right.
I've never seen that. And that's right. He would stop it dead. And do I think that could have been stopped dead? Yes. Do I think the ref wanted to stop it dead in the 75th minute of a cup semifinal first leg to really influence the game like that? That's where the subjectivity of being a ref comes into play. I think he probably was like, yeah, it was probably a yellow, but Liverpool are very clearly on a counterattacking break right now that could lead to a goal. I don't think he wanted to stop that opportunity just to give a red card and then, have Spurs hunker down for the last 10 minutes and make it a thing.
Yeah.
Where they can feel aggrieved is that Bergvall bagged the winner, not even 10 minutes later. And it was so awesome. His first goal for the club, it was a great goal. He didn't go to the camera. He didn't go to fans. He just put his chest into that knee slide. And I can only imagine how good that felt. I saw Spurs fans taking a picture of the pitch after the match, and you could see the distance on his knee slide in the grass. And they're like cutting it and setting it up so people could download to have like wallpapers on their iPhones and stuff. So gassed about that. It was so great to see an adjustment and flexibility in the Ange style. I think it proved a lot of people wrong to a certain degree, but more than anything, dude, I needed that so bad. I needed a big win more than anything, dude. It's just been rough over here. And Spurs fans have always said, if we start out the league and look like shit and we've got nothing to compete for in the league, ditch it. Win a cup, brother. Just go for it, bro. Why not? We're in a position now where you actually can. So excited about that. Happy with the win. We could still get blown out at Anfield. I'm not going to sit here and sit too high on it. But this week, feeling excellent.
The thing is, bro, Lucas Bergvall he's nice. He's nice with it. He is a player and a half, and we haven't even touched on Archie Gray yet. Archie Gray.
I was about to say, the man I asked and he delivered.
Yeah.
Before I said the man, I wasn't, and I was serious. It wasn't banter. I was impressed by him in his last.
Wasn't banter.
That's our favorite phrase on this podcast.
That's like saying no offense and then saying.
Yeah, no offense. You're an idiot, but no offense.
I think
it was his first big test. I thought it was like I wanted to see him perform, and he performed.
This season on the pod, definitely the no banter is definitely our phrase of this season. I think season 2, our phrase was like the game is won and lost in the midfield. Like if you went back and listened to our episodes, the amount of times we said that. But man, I'm like all in on the Archie Gray train. I'm like, get this kid the armband already. Like I'm like he's that guy. And I think Bergvall is a really interesting character. I don't really know what I thought of him when he came. Obviously, like I saw what everyone else saw of like the stories of a creative player and a playmaker and all that. And he is that. But I mean, the engine that he has on him is so impressive. I mean, I don't even know how many times in that game he was the furthest man back and then the furthest man forward, like on back-to-back plays. Like I just think, and part of that's being 18. Part of that is being able to like, run for days. And so is Archie Gray. But he's got the awareness to float in and out of games. And I think he brings a little bit more athleticism than maybe James Maddison has, but James Maddison still has that, final ball that Bergvall doesn't have yet. And I don't know. I just think that if you're Lucas Bergvall, you are in a perfect situation learning from James Madison, a guy that is 6-7 years older than you, that has more experience than you.
Too.
Yeah, 100%. And James Madison seems like that guy that is more than happy to do that.
Take him to darts, you know?
Yeah, all that. And you saw, like, when the game needed to change against the mighty Lambs, Ange brought on Lucas Bergvall, you know? Like, James Madison was out there and brought on Lucas Bergvall when the game needed to change. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just – you all have needed some interjection of some really good young talent for a long time. And Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, again, while they're not academy guys, but they're just young signings that I think when those deals were made, we were all kind of like, whoa, that was different. And they've been two of my favorite players to watch this year.
Yeah, and I the Bergvall thing is interesting too, because there was an interview recently where he said he likes playing a 6 in this style. And I thought that was, I mean, the way that they do play, you know, typically it's Sarr and either Basuma or Bentancur. Those guys hold back a lot more, whereas I think, you know, Bentancur may have a little bit more freedom to push forward. I think he was saying really, he's like, he gets to be a little bit of a deep line playmaker. Like he has defensive duty first, but he's the first guy the ball goes out to from the back line, and then his head's up looking for a major pass. So that it's fun to see him have freedom as an 18-year-old. And I do think, you know, we're seeing him grow. He's never going to come in and just be a world beater, but within the last couple of months and just getting more clock based on injuries and things like that, he's getting better. Yeah. And I think the same can be said about Archie Gray, who's, again, playing a position he's never played before. He's been an excellent center back. And no, do I want him to be the center back of the future? Absolutely fucking not. I want him to fill in and start to be that, you know, Basuma replacement or Bentancur replacement. But in the position that he's in, we don't have anybody else to play that role. And he's been an exceptional stand-in. And you can see, and you saw it too, we all texted in the group. As soon as he gets the ball and has any sort of license to go forward as a center back, he does. And then he dispatches silky balls.
Yeah.
Like the outside the foot 30-yard through the outside the foot 30-yard through ball to Kulusevski on the wing. We were all texting like, yo, this guy is not a center back. He's not a center back. But
but before we move on for Spurs, I think we gotta mention Kingsky, just the fact that the first ever game for Liverpool is just a shutout at Anfield.
So good.
Which is unreal. And I also I love this guy for no apparent reason, probably because I loved him when he was at Forest. Like, I'm really happy for Jed Spence, man. Like when he when he was at Forest and he was like 2021, I thought he was going to be the next big thing. And then he went to where was he? He was at Rennes and like Leeds, and he's like, it never really worked out at Tottenham. But like maybe it's because he played so well against United, but he also kind of locked down Mo Salah.
Which isn't hard.
I'm happy to see him. I'm happy to see him balling.
Me too, dude. The picture when we got him, I knew about him because he, you know, in the market for a wing back, he was really good. He was on the championship winning Forest team, and then he
was unreal for that team. It was unbelievable for that team.
Unreal with license to go forward and stuff. Now, but like, look at who the managers were. You know, Conte and
Jose.
Who's Jose? Was he here for Jose? I don't think he was here for Jose. I think he was a Conte signing. I don't really remember completely, but Conte
what was the guy that took over?
Nuno.
Was Nuno before?
Nuno.
I don't. Yeah. Defensive.
Revolving door.
Revolving door.
Nuno was 2021.
I'm there, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those guys play defensive football. That's it. And Ange is like, no, my wingers are going to be inverted midfielders. And like he's thriving. I don't know why he didn't even get a shot earlier in this year. I think Pedro Porro needs some competition because the guy gave up 45. Sorry, what was the word I was just thinking of? He lost the ball 45 times against Tamworth. Fifth tier Tamworth, 96 spots below Tottenham currently. So, I thought some competition was good. I couldn't believe he wasn't getting clock, and then he comes in and he's been so solid. So it's nice to stumble on new signings in your own squad every once in a while. I mean, I guess something was missing there, and people were saying it was an attitude problem. Maybe not. Fuck that. Get the guy on the pitch. He's got that cigar picture with the championship trophy and tagged Neil Warnock or something. That was hard, bro. Aura. That's aura.
Yeah, that's so good. Do you want to talk about Tamworth though? Because I feel like you can't just
I
be
guess
all
that's,
like
I was
high.
gonna say, is that
Like,
next? Yeah, I guess we can just roll right
Bro,
into that.
I was the biggest Lamb fan for
dude,
the 50
Lambs,
minutes that I watched that. Then they should have won. They should have won that game.
the Lambs.
Dude,
you were a couple toe pokes away from
A
misery.
couple toe
Yeah.
pokes, dude.
for backgrounds, Spurs drew Tamworth in the FA Cup, and they played at Tamworth. Tamworth is in the National League, the 5th division, and if you picked up Welcome to Wrexham when they started, it was the division that Wrexham was in, and they're like 16th in the league too. So just to reiterate that,
Teachers, dentists,
Zara employees.
there was a
Zara manager
who balled. He was sick. The center back that did a roulette turn in pressure. He's a plumber.
30.
Like we're like for real. These guys genuinely have other jobs and stuff. Yeah, they went 0-0 until 90 minutes and had to play extra time. So I woke up. I had absolutely zero intention of watching this match. Not even like a flick in my mind was like, I'm gonna get up at 6:30 and watch us play Tamworth. I wake up to go to the bathroom at like 7:30. It's almost halftime. It's 0-0. I texted in with Dobes and Hen. I was just like, LOL, no way. And they like clocked in and were like, oh, it's no one scored, and it's like halfway through. So then I think all three of us, I'm laying in bed, phone sideways.
I was doing the same thing.
I was so
I had the
mad.
iPad in bed.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to bed, but we're tied. And I checked the lineup too. I was like, oh shit, we played the Dogs. Like it was not a heavy. Like my genuine thought was like, get the kids in, rotate everybody, it'll be fine. No, played the Dogs, played a full out B team, and 0 goals. Timo Werner was striker. It was a miserable watch. The turf pitch was awful. Like you could see, I think Tamworth, if anything, had an advantage by just playing on that field. Like Matters was like mistouching the ball, and Solanke, when he came on, like balls would just pop up off his foot. It was pretty evident to tell they were having a hard time with the field. And yeah, frankly, Tamworth should have won. Like without a doubt in my mind, they had a
Bro,
total
the Tamworth striker reminded me of the stereotypical FIFA Pro Club's number 9 that you just put up top. That all you could do was hold the ball and win and flick the ball on. All they would do was do it and flick it on, and nobody would be there. But boy, was he good at it.
It was.
He put in a shift too. He put in some defensive shifts too. The guy was
bro.
like 6'6". He was huge.
Yeah, I didn't watch the first half hour, but apparently they threw in some leg breakers, and that just didn't get yellow carded. And it was proper non-league football. Is really what it was. It was Sunday league at its best. But I love the FA Cup for things like that. It's cool seeing Tottenham, now albeit not the caliber that they may have been in the past when they went to Marine with Jose. I loved that. There was a picture that made the rounds. This guy's just like looking out his window, and Gareth Bale's up top, and he's like, Gareth Bale's playing outside my window. Like that doesn't happen anywhere. So I love that. Hated watching this game. Just genuinely hated it so much because all of Spurs fandom was like, oh, we're gonna lose. Like we're actually gonna get bounced. It's gonna be the worst loss since like 1912. Someone looked up the last FA Cup difference.
Crazy too. Everyone was blowing that out.
I was embarrassed, and I think everyone was embarrassed, and we're never going to talk about it again. But look, you can only play the team in front of you. Yeah, and if that toe poke goes in, dude, if he gets any better of a connection on that final shot, that it should have gone in. And then after 90 minutes, the strength and conditioning is just going to end up winning. You know what I mean? Like they didn't have anything in extra time.
Yeah, it's gotta be embarrassing though. Like genuinely for Spurs. Like it's gotta be embarrassing. Like I was thinking about this. Like you're in there in your fully kitted Nike gear, head to toe. You have all of the stuff. You have all the cool shit, the boots.
There's a Champions League winner.
Yeah, like you have like all of this stuff, and you're I mean, you're tied, you're not losing, but like
It
you
felt like a
are
loss.
not winning that game. Like
No.
that's gotta, like, I was trying to even think about like what does Ange even say to these guys, and it has to just be like the most embarrassing like thing of like, yes, of course they got the result in the end for sure, and let's say that you all go all the way and you win this tournament, like you're not going to think about like, oh, in the third round we win 120 minutes, like whatever, but it's got to be fucking brutal on that trip home.
Yeah, I can only imagine, and backed them after the game, just like all the stereotypical things you'd say. Like, it was tough pitch, tough place to play. The guys couldn't get adjusted. And, yeah, like it was just he was defending them. I can only imagine that it was not the same conversation on the bus going home.
No,
I feel like that's one of those where you don't even have to say anything. It's just like it's just expected. It's just expected.
100%.
Timo Werner should have just been left there because he looked out of his depth against them.
He should have signed for Tamworth, man.
Dude, he was getting bullied by them, brother.
He's got to be studied, man. The fall off has been insane.
The joke about like, oh, he's found his level. He still wasn't in it. Dude. He still wasn't in his level.
I'm starting a rec co-ed league on Mondays. Maybe
sign him up. Yeah, dude, he'll give you quick runs to the net, but I don't know about anything from there. Yeah,
that's all we need.
So enough about all that. Super much fun. I did just get an ESPN notification that we are now linked with Marcus Rashford, so that's something.
I mean, would you take Rashford over Timo Werner?
Yes.
Of course.
We talked about his wages.
I just love that you're comparing them. And
right,
wow, your boys hate it, dude.
The fall off, man. I said this to Dobes and Hen, but I'm not at the luxury to bitch about anyone coming into this team at this point because they're legs. Like they have legs, they work, they're healthy. Someone's gonna play. That'll be great. Chelsea takes down Morecambe, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
5-0, stunner from the Blues.
Similar to you, I was not expecting much from this one. Wasn't even to a little bit of background. I have all of Chelsea's Premier League games synced to my iCloud calendar, so Claire gets updates when Chelsea's playing, so she doesn't schedule things around that. She does not have the FA Cup, so she did in fact schedule a wedding photographer meetup. Literally like right.
You skip it.
Right. Could not skip that one. I know when to fight and lose my battles, and that one was not one.
I appreciate that you said I didn't want to fight and lose, so I just.
But I will say I was expecting us to have a decent result. We didn't. Our B team is very good, so we still had the dogs as well. Reece James started from being on injury, which was huge for us. Same with Lavia, which I absolutely love seeing both of them on the pitch because I think they're quality players, and I'm hoping that they can continue to stay healthy. Knocking on wood. But I don't know if you guys watched at all or looked at the score line. We didn't score until the 40th. So I went into this meeting 0-0 and being like, are we serious? Like, what is going on? And then I luckily come out to 3-0 in the 70th, and Tosin's on a hat trick.
Yeah, that was wild.
I was immediately very, very confused as to what had happened in that time frame. But hey, 3 goals is 3 goals. And then I saw Zhao score 2 brilliant goals himself. So I was happy moving on and advancing and at least getting a result. We haven't had a result in, I think, the last 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So at least getting a win is very good for us. One thing I wasn't happy with is I thought Jurgensen did not play well. He made a lot of errors out of the back, and it was like very simple. Like they weren't pressing anything outrageously, and he was just kicking the ball out of bounds. And that's not great to see, especially when Robert Sanchez is our goalie at the moment. So like fighting between those two is not fun right now.
Jurgensen's a goalie, right? He's a goalie.
Yes.
I genuinely did not know who he was.
No banter.
No banter. He could have been, brother, you have 18 center backs. Like, he could have been a center back.
Goalies.
I genuinely just had to pull it up.
There are guys that you name sometimes that I'm like, remind me.
Chuka Duka. Like, I have no idea who any of them are, bro.
You guys scored some worldy goals, though, frankly. João Felix had some slick finishes.
Yeah, he did. Also, the two center backs that we had, I thought it was two things with that. Us shopping for center backs, I think, shows the confidence that Maresca has in the two center backs that started, which was Diassi and Tosin. I don't rate Diassi really at all. I never really did. And even when he was playing at right back, I always questioned it because I never thought he was good on the ball. So why would you put him in a position that I just never really understood it. But I do like Tosin a lot. I think I said that a couple times before. I don't think his goals and his match rating show like he had a good game or anything, but I'm hoping that he can build on this performance and gain some confidence. Because I feel
like he's like the perfect squad rotation center back. Doesn't
Agreed.
need to be the shooter,
Fab tweeted at
Agreed.
11:52 today that Disasi is expected to be out of Chelsea squad tomorrow as he can leave in January.
I mean, what is it? It's Disasi, Chilwell,
Yeah.
Chukwuemeka.
And Nkunku looks like he's going to Bayern.
Yeah.
Dude, Nkunku's been weird too. Like, I mean...
Yeah, that was 4 hours ago. It says Bayern want Nkunku and Chelsea want Mathis Tel, which Tel's a dog.
Yeah, we're very much on Nico Jackson probably being our striker. And obviously in this game, Mark Yu started. I mean, obviously Nkunku did too, but he was in that role that... And this is... I think we talked about it a little bit in our chat because I think João Felix is in the same spot. Anyone who's trying to play the 10 in Chelsea is not going to get any time because Cole Palmer is probably one of the better players in the world right now, and you're not going to start over him in the Premier League. So I feel bad for João Felix and Nkunku because I do think they're quality players, and I sound annoying because I'm complaining about my depth being João Felix and Nkunku. But I definitely could see Nkunku leaving because he's not getting the starts, and it's unfortunate for him because I do think he's very good. But you got Cole Palmer, and I think his natural position is a 10. Like, I don't think he's an out-and-out striker. Yes, he scores a lot of goals, but I definitely think he's more of a creative player and not so much just a finisher. So we'll see.
Yeah, Felix and... Go ahead.
It's crazy because, like, Nico Jackson's good, but I don't think he's, like, unplayable. Like, if Nkunku was, like, half the player we thought he was going to be, like, you'd think that he would be able to at least challenge for that spot. Like, Nico Jackson's been good. He's been a little bit, not a revelation, but better than we thought he was going to be this year. But I don't by any means think he's undroppable.
I agree, but also when Nkunku started for us in big games at the 9, he has not played well for us.
Oh, I agree. I think it says more about their level necessarily than anything. Yeah.
The other person I wanted to shout was George. I thought he was very good. I don't think he's like, I think there's something there, but I think his confidence was everything in this game. He was taking everyone on, and I think that got him a lot of success. Obviously, the side that we were playing definitely helps in that, and I would love to see him against actual Premier League talent. But I definitely loved his confidence because anytime he had the ball, and we were getting him the ball often, he was taking that defender or that winger on every time.
Yeah, that's kind of what you love on like those academy players.
George, you can look up. You can look that name up.
I had to.
I just did too.
Yeah, that's a name you can look up. And
but like that's part of the fun part of like the academy kids playing, where it's like they just have that ignorance.
Tyreek.
Where they just run at players. And
I know you said George for a second, and I was like, "Is that his first name?" Like, what?
Last name.
Tyreek George.
I get that now, but
oh yeah, George. You don't know George? That's
our boy. Kid doesn't know him.
George,
our boy from the academy.
Nick didn't know him until this game either. So.
That's so. He's got 2 more assists than all of Arsenal in the FA Cup right now.
That's exciting.
Hey,
we should talk about that.
Speaking of,
yeah, we should talk about that.
We are just gassing ourselves through this one, boys. We had an interesting one yesterday as well. Man United goes 1-1 through on penalties over the Arsenal at the Emirates, and it was a great watch for the neutral. I won't lie, that it was a lot of fun, and I've got thoughts, but I will leave it to the Reds of the room to kind of kick this one off. However anyone wants to approach it.
Take your flowers, boys.
You want us to go first? I was gonna let you go first.
Take your flowers. We always do that.
Oh man, this was fantastic, boys. This was just Arsenal's best chance at a trophy gone. I don't even know where to start with this one, fellas. This is one of those games where I think there's multiple ways to dissect the match, and I think when you look at the way that this game panned out, I don't want to mention the refereeing too much. It's almost impossible not to. But I think what you have heard from both Hen and I consistently over the past probably month is exactly what we saw in this game. I think if you look at the game a few weeks ago against Arsenal in the Prem, I will say 100% as a collective group, we played better. We played so much better in that game a few weeks ago at the Emirates. What we lacked was that mentality, that fight, and really the urgency as a group just to play for each other. And this was one of those games where from sort of the get-go, it was kind of a scrappy. It wasn't your classic United, Arsenal, beautiful football either way. Arsenal had a little bit more possession. United really couldn't get a foothold in the game. And truthfully, fellas, this one came down to just nothing but mentality. And we haven't seen that from this group of players in such a long time. I think the fact that, we did score Bruno Fernandes, that finish was 10,000 times harder than he made that look. Off the bounce, the finish.
Around the defender.
Around the defender. Diego Dalot got sent off. I will say that that's a reckless challenge. I don't think he deserved to be sent off, not because of that foul, but because I think his first foul arguably could have been against Arsenal and not necessarily against him that got a yellow. But this one comes all down to mentality. And I'm going to mention probably the same guys you've heard me mention over the past couple of weeks. De Ligt, absolute colossal monster. I think that literally the background on my phone now is a screenshot of him screaming in the net after saving that ball on the goal line. Harry Maguire, colossal. The fact that he was sick for 2 days before the game, didn't practice, still wanted to play, came in, and arguably you can say he was the man of the match at the Etihad, at Anfield, and now at the Emirates. In 3 games in a row. Vicha, again, the guy who I got in the back of my jersey, Manuel Ugarte, he's turning into my favorite player. He's one of those guys that he's just a healthy unhinged. Like there's something about players like him that it's just infectious personality. He's willing to fight for every single ball, and he does not give a.
You like those players, Dobes?
He does not give a fuck who's in his way. But there's 3 different ways to play soccer, right? You play the game with your feet, you learn it in your brain, you win with your heart. Like it sounds like a very cheesy saying, but I've always thought that you can do whatever with your feet, you can do whatever with your mind, you can be in the right tactical spot, you can play the correct patterns, you can do all the right things. But if you don't believe, you're not going to win. And it's just what this team has been missing. And I truthfully think he's got that infectious personality around him to where you see after the red card, or excuse me, the PK, which, by the way, never a PK. But if you want to pick a fight with somebody on the field, Kai Havertz, you're picking a fight with the wrong guy. He is not afraid who you are. He's not afraid. There was that look in his eye. I literally thought there was a second where he was going to hit the referee. Like he stared that referee down. I thought that he was just going to smoke him. But so many different storylines in this game. But I think I would take winning this way over a 5-0 win any given day. And people may think that's crazy, but there's something about going to a place against your rival, down a man for 70 minutes. Joshua Zirkzee, who less than 10 days ago was booed off the field, steps up and gets to have his moment. I'm buzzing after this one. It's kind of crazy because if you look at our last 5 games, it's loss, tie, win in pens. But these last 2 games have felt like there's been a momentum shift where you've heard Amarin for weeks say that until these guys learn how to suffer, they're not going to win. And what that means is suffer for each other. Bruno Fernandes suffering, doing the dirty work. Every single player that played. I haven't even mentioned Bandier, who was the one player that Henry and I before the game were like, we're fucked if he's in net. Like the one thing we were worried about, our goalie Bandier. You should know him because you should know him because he shit all over himself the first game he played.
Right.
But he stepped up. Like he stepped up. And what's so funny is I think 100% the goal that Arsenal scored is probably his fault. Like he's 6'6". He should catch that or punch it anywhere but right back in the box. But then he steps up, and I'm not going to pretend like that the Odegaard was a decent pen. People don't realize he's 6'6".
He's huge.
Like, dude, he's massive. And then the pen that he saved against Kai Havertz was in the corner.
Yeah.
Like, it was 100%.
All hit pens.
Bro, it was 100% going in the corner. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing just for the result. I think the biggest thing for me was just the mentality. And now we go. We got something to build on. We got Southampton next, then Brighton, a favorable schedule. And I'm going to keep saying it, man. This Amarim is, dude, he's the truth. He just is. He's the truth. He's said everything and done everything right, and he's doing it with scraps.
Yeah.
Like, he really is. He's doing it with scraps. A team that, we would go to the Emirates last year and play how Arsenal did at City. Like, we would sit in for 80 minutes and hope to counterattack. And the last three times we played a team in the Big Six, we've gone to City and won. We've tied Liverpool at Anfield, and we've gone Arsenal won. So buzzing for the future and buzzing how this game went. But again, we didn't get 3 points for it, fellas. So got to win Southampton Thursday.
Yeah, I love watching games where you look back and you think about that starting 11 and all the subs, and you're just so happy with every single one of them.
Casemiro didn't touch the field.
Obviously, the Delo situation, like, it's so frustrating to get sent off there, and I agree. Like, he doesn't touch him, and you're on a yellow. You can't make that tackle unless you're so clear you're gonna, like, get that ball. Same thing with Lucas Bergvall. Like, Bergvall was lucky,
yeah.
And the thing is that, like, after that, I was so nervous that we were just gonna drop our heads and we were gonna lose the game by quite a bit, but every single one of those guys, like, I remember after the game, I was buzzing. I was so stoked. I was like, who's my man of the match? And I was like going through the starting lineup, and I was like, well, Altai, and, like, obviously was the man of the moment, like, making those big saves. But then you have Maguire, and then you have Leach, and then you have Delict, like, just so many guys. And, like, that doesn't even touch, like, Toby Collier hasn't seen the field since, like, the third game of the season because Ten Hag yanked him and obliterated his confidence. He comes in against Arsenal and is literally
Scott McTominay regen.
Dude, it's insane.
Like him.
He was everywhere on the pitch, and like, he really has a future there. Malacia came in, like, I think a couple of people missed that fact, but he came in for extra time, and
Licha played as a striker.
Yeah, and it was everyone that came in and did their job. And then you even have, like, Garnacho. Garnacho is such an easy guy to miss in this game, but he started on that right-sided 10 position, puts in an unbelievable assist. He does exactly what you want him to do, and that's what we've asked for. When he got left out of the City game, you wanted a response. And I'm still not convinced that Garnacho is going to be the perfect man for this system, but he's come back and had 2 huge assists over the last couple of games, and that's what you want out of your young players. And so I'm just so proud of the team. I will say that obviously I was a little bit rash in the group chat after this game, but it was one of the most embarrassing performances I've ever watched a football team go through of the Arsenal camp.
After the pen. After the pen.
Broke his headset.
I was in Discord with Griffin Butch for the entire game, and you better believe that thing just got fucking thrown.
I mean, I was literally I was disgusted with some of the things that I saw from Arsenal. The dive on the pen was unbelievable. And what I will say too is, like, Harry Maguire has just been, I'll use your word,
shithouse,
dude. Like, I'll use your word. He's been colossal the last several games, and Harry Maguire also doesn't really lose his cool very often. And so, for the fact that he was out of his mind yelling at Kai Havertz and yelling at the ref, like, I mean, it was, huh?
Doesn't Maguire have assault charges?
He's rehabbed, bro. He's changed.
He beat up some cops in Greece. Don't come from my man.
But the thing is that you see that fight from them. Arsenal, like, going down at every single second, swarming the refs. I mean, it was embarrassing to watch.
So they were stalling in, like, the 30th minute.
Yeah,
like, it was the wildest thing I've ever seen.
We've talked for weeks now about Arsenal's lack of production going forward. Lucas, you highlighted it against Newcastle when you were talking about that game. It was on full display yet again in this game. But it's worrisome, like, for the Arsenal camp. Like, I mean, genuinely, I put this in the group chat earlier, but like, you don't get a result against Tottenham on Wednesday, your season's kind of over with. Like,
Not the Champions League, but no Saka, no Jesus is massive.
but yeah, so you have that, and then you think about, like, there's several teams in the world who are ahead of Arsenal who are playing in the Champions League, and it's not all just like who's the better team. Sometimes there is some of that tournament football that is at play, but like, them winning the Champions League was like the furthest chance of them getting a trophy this season, and they got knocked out of the cup. They're probably not going to advance past Newcastle. If you don't win against Andy's miraculous Tottenham Hotspur, like, you don't really have anything to fight for in the Prem except for top four. It's just like, it's really grim days in the Arsenal camp. But
AFTV was pure cinema. It was pure. I quite literally, I paid for Yankee Gunner's Patreon subscription just to hear him bitch and moan after that game, and it hit like crack, fellas.
As the host of this podcast, I will step in as mediator, and I will swing it back to my man Winks, who's on a record low number of words in the podcast. But at the end of the day, something that does definitely need to be pointed out is the fact that Arsenal had expected goals of 3.22, and United's was 0.27. Expected goals don't determine the outcome of a game, but Arsenal had all of the better chances. Not saying that they looked amazing while doing it, but this game easily could have been, not what we're talking about right now. And I do agree with the United viewpoint of
horseshoes and hand grenades, my friend.
You could see the fight, you could see the intensity that United had, which is, I would agree, something that we haven't seen in a long time. But I think it would be remiss to say that Arsenal were terrible. They weren't.
Embarrassing
I think
is how I would put it, but
Wings. I mean, what you got?
Yeah. Props to Bay and Deer, definitely the man of the match in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Bruno too for that finish. Those were the first two things I had in my notes here. But on the other side of the coin, who've kind of like what you were saying, I firmly believe, regardless of what you guys say, that we lost the game more than United won it. We're continuing to pay that price for that awful price for not signing a striker yet. And I know that I've said good things about Kai at different points in the last few seasons, and he does have his moments. But unfortunately, he's a lot closer to a 4.5 than he is a 9. And it was an awful night for him to have the worst finishing game of his career as an Arsenal player. Arteta has yet to address it, but he continues to strengthen other positions on the field, especially our back line, which is great, but none of which are and have been the main issue with our team. I love having 5 different players that can score a goal in a single game, but when that's not necessarily those players' roles, especially in tactically different games, we still need that killer up top, and I'm going to continue to beat that dead horse until I die. But when you see Declan Rice missing 2 great opportunities, including a header inside the 6, Havertz missing several opportunities, and including another cross from Odegaard inside the 6, we missed so many key moments and shot ourselves in the foot. I think we do everything. I think I said it 2 weeks ago, but I think we do everything around the opponent's 18 box and behind very, very well. But it's when we get into that 18 with the ball at our feet, like, we just forget how to play football. And I'll continue to back my club because, like one of you guys said earlier, none of us really know what's going on behind the scenes, especially without a technical director. But, I said it earlier that it's unfortunately up to the Arsenal board to decide, who we sign and what money we spend. And then the team is just forced to kind of stick with that. So my only hope is that, the board allows us to make the moves that we need to make to turn, the trajectory of where our season's headed in a more positive direction. But it is super frustrating that we can have 23 shots on goal without a goal against Newcastle and then turn around and do 26 against United with nothing to show for it from except for a goal from our center back, who's been our best finisher
A deflection goal
since
at that.
Saka got injured.
I think I want to bring up Saka really quick.
Yeah.
I think as a known Arsenal hater, Tottenham fan, yeah, that's just a given. He hid some real issues because he was that influential. Like I'm willing to sit here and accept that the Arsenal team that I watched with and without him is a completely different Arsenal team.
I don't know
Like,
if I think I disagree with that though. Like they missed a 9
really?
with him or without him. Like yes, he's a
They
huge
missed-
piece,
yeah.
but they still
think that-
needed a goal scoring threat besides him to win anything.
For sure.
But I think that outside of that, looking at him specifically, I'd agree. But I'd also look at the Odegaard piece too, because he was injured so much earlier on in the season, and
He's
now
fell
that
off the
Saka's
face of
out,
the earth.
it's like with the current state of our team, we need both of those guys out there at the same time. Like one guy in the middle of the pitch or on the right side of the pitch, like creating and drawing players away from Saka, and vice versa. Saka drawing players away from Odegaard, in the top, right hand side of the pitch. But when they're both gone, defensively, players are going to get drawn closer to whichever one of those guys is actually in the game. So right now at this state of the team and the way and with how fit our players are, we need both of them in there, especially when we don't have that proper 9 up
Yeah,
top.
Dubs, my point was that he was covering up the offensive issues, like by providing balls from wide that I don't think I've seen Arsenal send since. Like he has the ability to whip an incredible cross, and when you do it so well, I'm gonna get on the end of one. Like now without that, Kai Havertz is on an island.
Yeah.
Trossard and Martinelli are not nearly half the ball deliverers pause that Saka is, and it's tough for him. I've never rated him either, but
I had chances. He had a
ton. He had a ton.
Hard to play a ball. Yeah. Did you all see speaking of slow motion videos, did you all see the slow motion video of Odegaard picking the ball up like outside his 18 when they were chasing the game and like dribble all the way into the United half and turn around and dribble
And then
back
look
into
at the crowd
like literally it was like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in the world. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like I just think that I said this in the Mecca chat, but it has to be so frustrating being an Arsenal fan. Like literally watching that performance, knowing so clearly that you need a 9. It is the clearest thing when you watch that team. And if Arsenal's board continuously doesn't do it, at some point, man, it's like, what's the point of believing whenever it's like it's the missing piece? Like I will say that I laughed a little bit when you were saying, Lucas, that without a 9 who can score these goals, it doesn't matter that we can have 5 guys on the field who can score. It wasn't so long ago that you were saying, I love the fact that we have 5 guys on the field that can score that,
I do.
I
do. And then I also said in tactically different games where that doesn't make sense and those guys aren't finishing those chances. When you put a proper 9 in these positions, Kai Havertz and Timo are seemingly becoming not so different in the way that they get into good positions, but then don't finish the chances they get. That's where that proper 9 comes into play when these extra players aren't scoring goals. And I've said every week for the last month and a half that we need a striker and that it sucks without it. So I appreciate you reiterating.
It sucks that Gabby Jesus
it
got back
does.
on the injury table as well.
Yeah, I know
Bruno at the top of the box.
They were.
I
haven't seen any
ACL,
updates
but it was
on
something
that.
bad. Griff said.
Yeah, a lot of people were worried that it was like the same knee that he hurt and was out for a long time from the World Cup. But I think for me these last several years, even the few years before Arteta, it feels like our club takes one step forward. Whether it be signing a new player or signing Arteta, in that year, and then taking one step backwards and ending up in the same spot. It's not like we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back,
Yeah.
1 step forward, 2
That's my
steps back.
club. Yeah.
You're like, hey, that's my line. That's my line, pal.
Yeah, there are these moments where I see us progress, and I'm excited for new signings or a good run of form, and then we wind up right back where we started, and we just get put in awful positions, and it sucks. But you United boys were right last week in saying that this week was probably the week to play Arsenal, given the state of the club, and so I haven't seen you guys this excited for a win in quite a long time. So
thanks, man.
If beating a currently shambolic Arsenal side in the third round of the FA Cup is
we're in
what
13th,
you need,
and you had an extra 2 guys for 75 minutes and couldn't score.
But again, same shit, different week. No offensive threat. It's I even texted Hen before the game. I was like, this is going to be a 1-0 game either way, and
what do you make?
Was essentially there.
Lucas, what do you make of the? And I listened to AFTV because it was enjoyable. But what do you make of the fans that are saying? By no means, I mean there was the Arteta. That's always just going to happen. But what do you make of the fans that are saying that Arsenal fans celebrate? And mediocrity is a hard way to put it, but that's the way he said it. Like the fact of Kai Havertz gets a chant instantly when he joins the club. Like the set piece coach gets painted on the side of a building for being the set piece coach. Like there's all these people that are saying we haven't done anything yet, and yet we continue to celebrate these people like we've done something. And I don't mean that as we say on here, banter, but at the same time, it's one of those things that like it does seem that like there's too much of this. And I would say the same thing about United and some of the players. It's like there's too much of the accepting, and mediocrity is a bad way to put it, but like there's too much of just accepting where we are. And fans are cheering and everybody seems kind of relatively happy, but like it doesn't seem until like nobody's really putting pressure on Kroenke. Like I remember like the United fans were fucking protesting. You know what I mean? It's like you're coming on here and saying something, but then at the same time we're putting the set piece coach on the side of a wall. Like that, you know what I mean? It's that fine line between like accepting finishing second and being good, and then being willing to say we're still not good enough, taking that step forward.
Yeah, I think that this exists in every single fan base to an extent. You've got the extremists on either side, and then you have the ones in the middle. I think in the case of all of our clubs, everybody wants something to celebrate, whether that's a new signing or in this case a set piece coach like succeeding in creating a way for us to score goals consistently. But then you also have those fans out there that while these murals are getting painted or while these chants are getting created, that are also out there like demanding more from the club. So it's like picking out the few that are doing something without sort of you're seeing one part of a whole in that case. And I think that there are still the majority of Arsenal fans that do want to celebrate the good things, but also expect more from the club. So just take that with a grain of salt, but I think that exists in every club. And it is what it is. But unfortunately, after that game, those things within our club more than anybody's are in the spotlight.
So I noticed when you were talking, you did say that you backed your club. Do you back Arteta? Like, are you still all Arteta in, or is it like when do you guys?
Grass is greener, man. The grass is greener. Learn from me.
So
the grass is greener.
We've also talked about this every time Henry shits on Arteta, but the Premier League is, actually I guess everywhere, but more so the Premier League than anything, is so used to seeing managers rotate at a lot of clubs like every single year. And I know that Arteta's like been there much longer than a year, and at some point, there have to be questions. Shitty timing that, hopefully we sign a new technical director before the summer, but shitty timing that he isn't able to, potentially make that signing under his own accord or under him working with our technical director directly to turn this again trajectory around. But at the end of the season, if there's nothing to show for it but Champions League football next year, I think that he's for sure on the hot seat. But I don't want to count him out yet, because I really don't want our club to get in that cyclical cycle.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, like next year would be like the hot seat year, where it's like
After
get it.
after this year,
Get a
I would
technical
say.
director in, like get someone he's working with, and then like next year,
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
reevaluate.
it's been such
That's
shitty
probably fair. I mean,
timing.
that's probably fair. I mean,
Is that
Yeah.
the majority of the Arsenal fans though? Like, are you with the majority in that thought, or are people like?
I don't know what the majority is. I see everybody saying so many different things, so I very well could be. I might not be, but I do think a lot of Arsenal fans are in the same boat as me as far as just like wanting to trust something and see it out without getting in that, again, awful cycle of
God, it'd be so funny if like
rotating guys.
Just
popped up on
record that and play it again next year. Just
Yeah.
record that statement, play it again next year.
watching
Dude,
Netflix.
I'm jealous. Really, are you kidding me? I mean, like, just to have a manager you can support for that many years and have positive turnaround from where you were originally when you picked it up. Like Nicky, they were finishing 8th. Relax.
700 million.
They're fighting for titles. Do they have a title? No. But like,
Boy, are they fighting for it!
It would be insane. It would be insane to sack him right now.
I think it'd be insane to sack him too, but at the same time, it's like like I like that stance, Lucas. That like you let him finish out this year. Hopefully by this time, you have to get a technical director in before the summer window. You have to do it, and then next year would be the year where it's like if you're not seeing the results, I think by this time next year, I think it'd be fine to say like, hey, he deserves to go if it hasn't turned around.
I'm not like disagreeing with you guys by any means, but like I'm used to my club when people start not getting performances, you're getting sacked. So like I'm shocked.
5 years trophyless is unacceptable at United.
Not any heat
unacceptable.
There's not any heat whatsoever. Like I feel like Chelsea fans would be like screaming for him to be gone.
Fickle bunch, those Chelsea fans.
Yeah, they are. I agree with you. Like fuck.
Yeah, Nick, I don't know if you were listening, but I did just say that there are a lot of Arsenal fans out there that are saying Arteta out, but there are also an equal amount saying, trust that process. So don't worry. There are
Arsenal and Joel Embiid, baby. Trust it.
There are those out there.
Trust the shit out of that process.
A lot of similarities in that one. Right there.
Truth.
Well, lads, we have gone considerably longer than any of us actually thought we were going to. It turns out it was so much fun to chat what we had happen this week. Got a double match week coming up for the boys. Chelsea's got Bournemouth. The North London Derby is going to be a big one. Man United play.
Helping you out with your schoolwork. Winks is not.
yeah. It is funny. Like, so we established that the like no banter is the theme of this season. The like before we start recording, the theme of this season is like this will be a quick one. Like we just have a couple games to talk about. It'll be a quick one.
Right.
The jit went out the window about 20 minutes.
Oh my
ago.
god.
Yeah. So a lot of games for all of us to cover next week. Make sure you tune in. Follow us on the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Twitter's back up and cruising. We're getting thoughts and chirping left and right. Make sure to check us out. And signing off. Thanks, boys.
Cheers,
Cheers, boys.
Always.
Cheers.